mystical, so unpredictable, here on the SNL Network.
Yes, welcome everybody to the SNL Network's Monday Night Roundtable covering the Billie Eilish episode of Saturday Night Live, season 47, episode number 8. Hard to believe we're almost at the Christmas holidays, and it's very exciting with two really fun shows. First, the Billie Eilish one, and obviously Paul Rudd joining the Five Timers Club next week, which I'm sure we're going to be talking about at the end of the show. But before we get there, we have so much to cover in terms of all the different sketches that we saw this week. Somebody doing double duty. What does that mean? How do other double duty hosts compare to Billie Eilish? I definitely want to talk through that with our panel. And we also have a live chat going on YouTube. So if you ever listen to these after the fact and you want to join us on Monday nights, we're usually live at 8 p.m. Eastern on Mondays. Okay, let's introduce the panel that we have here joining us to talk about Billie Eilish. First up, it is Sammy Kay. Sammy, how are you?
I'm doing really well, John. Excited to talk about this episode, and almost just as excited for the MacGruber TV series coming out on Thursday. This is not a plug. I have no affiliation yet.
Are you honest? That's the question.
I don't want to break the NDA either way. So, but just excited to watch as a fan.
Okay, good. I'm really excited. And Sammy, I have a take, and I hope I don't forget, but I have a take about you specifically when it comes to this episode. So I'm gonna tease that, and I'll bring that up later on in the show. Okay. All right. If I forget, just remind me. Be like, John, what was that take about me? Okay. All right. Joining us also, it is the great Morgan Killoren. Morgan, how are you?
Hi guys, I'm great. I was so excited that Kate came back this week. That was really what I wanted to see. So excited on all ends.
Yeah, you were a huge Kate McKinnon stan, right?
I am, for sure. I've met her once too. She's awesome.
Cool. Okay, well, I'm excited to hear all of everybody's thoughts on Kate returning and really how that affected the show. And somebody who I know analyzes the show very well is Bill Kenney. Bill, how are you?
I'm doing great, John. I am ready to dig into this William Eyelash episode.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. So for those who didn't see on the Hot Take show, Bill was in the chat watching the show, and he said, I cannot wait to talk about this on Monday with John. So I really can't wait to get into this. Bill, why don't you start us off then? Why don't you tell us, your overall thoughts on Billie Eilish coming to host the show?
I'll tell you what, she was the person I've been most excited about this year as far as musical guests that they've announced. I'm a big Billie Eilish fan, but I found her so incredibly charming. Even with the, almost breaking in almost every sketch. She did such a great job. Otherwise, she was well cast in everything that she was put in. She was game for anything, which was always looking for these new hosts. I think she did a really good job, and the music was fantastic as well. One of the best musical performances I've seen in a long time on the show. So monologue was cute. I don't know. I enjoyed on the Hot Take show what you were saying about whether this would still be considered a solo monologue or not. So I'm interested to see what everybody has to say about that as well.
Yeah, for sure. That is a very interesting question. And it seems like social media was very quickly to jump on the fact that this was still a solo monologue. So whatever you guys think, there has not been a cast member in the monologues yet this season, which is an interesting trend to watch. Sammy, let me ask you, when you heard that Billie Eilish was going to be announced for this show, what were your thoughts?
So honestly, I am not not that I'm not a fan of Billie Eilish. I just don't listen to a lot of her music. Probably the thing I'm most familiar with her recently is that she did the song in the new James Bond movie, which I thought was pretty solid. But I was excited just by the fact that she, is the first person to host the show, that was born after the 2000s. So really kind of seeing that, sort of Gen Z influence and humor brought into this episode, which, there were a number of sketches, one in particular that, that was brought into the fold. So yeah, I also thought just, seeing her on TikTok, which TikTok will come up later, she is very funny in those small bits. So I thought she definitely had potential. So I had more of a question mark on this one, but, I was positive and excited that she was going to do a good job. And I think she delivered.
Yeah, maybe this completely just flew over my head. So again, audience, we didn't even talk about this on Saturday night, but it is such a good point that you had to include things that would relate to people who were born after the 2000s if you're going to have Billie Eilish on. And I guess I didn't necessarily think about that going into the episode, but it's such an excellent point, Sammy. So thanks for that. Morgan, are you a big Billie Eilish fan? Were you excited to see her?
I love Billie. I just think that she's all around like a great person, and she's such like a good role model for like the younger girls nowadays. So I was very excited to see how she was going to do in a more acting comedy role. Um, Her personality like really shined through no matter like what character she was playing, which I thought was awesome. And she just wanted to like be herself and really like immerse herself fully into whatever she was doing. And then obviously her voice was amazing, and she actually got to sing in some of the sketches, which was great to see her um, show her like real talent mixed in with the sketch. Um, so yeah, I thought that she did an amazing job, and I thought it was kind of like a breath of fresh air in a way. Like she was so enjoyable to watch, and like she really had so much fun and was laughing and was just being herself, and her family was there supporting her, which is always awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I think all around the opinion of Billie Eilish, on this episode, I think I've seen from most people is fairly positive. I think it's not Billie that's been a question mark, and at least for me, it was more the episode itself that I think we're going to get into when we talk about the sketches. But just to keep the conversation focused on Billie, Bill, I do want to ask you, compared to some of the other double duty female singing hosts that we have seen over the years, where would you place Billie Eilish in your mind? Because I know we had, going, back to the early 2000s, we had like the Britney Spears and the Christina Aguileras, and then obviously the Ariana Grandes and Halseys over the last few years. Where does, Billie Eilish fit for you?
I think she's somewhere in the middle. I think Miley and Britney kind of set the
Miley too. Yep.
standards. And then maybe a little bit further down, you've got Adele, you've got Halsey, Christina. I think part of it is the sketch writing. I think the Britney episode was one of the best episodes of the early 2000s, and we had one of the better casts at that point as well. So I would put her right around the middle of female double duty hosts, musical guests.
Yeah, for sure. And just a point of clarification, I don't believe Christina Aguilera actually did double duty, but she's a female singing host who ended up, hosting the show. So just to put her in that category as well. But yeah, I mean, a great point. I mean, obviously Miley Cyrus near the top of that list. She's, one of the hosts that's been in the most sketches in the history of the show, including a sketch in this episode, which will be fun to talk about if we get to that. Sammy, for you, how do you feel about, Billie Eilish compared to some of the other female hosts that we've seen in the singing realm?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, some of those episodes I haven't watched in a while, but just based on like my memory, I mean, Miley Cyrus is probably like the gold standard for like this current era of the show. And I can't remember particularly if like in her first, episode or when she did double duty, like that's when she made that impression as like a go-to musical host. But no, I think, just to reiterate, I think she definitely did a good job, and she's somebody who, I'd like to see her come back. I'm just not exactly sure where I'd rank her, but I think she did well.
Yeah, I would say like, look, I think Billie did a really good job. I am always curious if there is a little bit of a psychology when you talk about how SNL decides to book hosts. And part of the conversation that we have been having all season long is the amount of male hosts that have been booked for this season. The ratio from male to female is really insane. Obviously, in the history of the show, this was something that has been like a notable thing that, there's been almost 1,000 episodes of Saturday Night Live, and there's been almost 200 women that have hosted Saturday Night Live. So that 4-to-1 is kind of crazy. And in this season, obviously the ratio is even more extreme. But what really stands out for me, and this is not a knock on Billie Eilish or even Kim Kardashian, but why SNL would decide in the first 9 episodes of the season not to book a female actress per se. Like they chose 2 females in the first half of the season that are non-traditional, female actresses that would end up hosting the show. And I don't know why. And Morgan, is there any like theory that you would have as to why they would go in this direction? Because for me, it's like, yeah, you're getting the buzz and the headlines, but is it worth it?
I feel like whenever they like are choosing like a female or actress, it would be like if they were trying to like double cross it with like promoting their movie or like their TV show, like something that's relevant going on. And I think that maybe there hasn't been like I don't know, something that they like didn't want to kind of like collaborate with in a way. So I think that they're just trying to like base it off of relevancy. And we know that Billie's like very popular right now. And she just came out with some new music. And then Kim Kardashian was just like a legend. And they've never really like done something like that with like an influencer hosting it. So I think that they're just trying to like be different and take chances maybe. And maybe like next year to end the season, they'll do more like acting roles with like actresses. But I think that they're just trying to like test the waters in different departments and different kinds of people. So I think it's kind of just like a trial and error, like learning, seeing what's doing well and what people are enjoying.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, Bill, I think it stands out to me just tremendously when I just think about all the experimental hosts they've done with males. Like they reach all different realms of people. And with women, female hosts, I find over the last few years, like Anya Taylor-Joy was a great example of a female host who killed it in the finale of last season. And that show was so good and so unexpectedly good because there wasn't a lot of hype coming into it. It was like, okay, a finale that was hosted by someone who wasn't necessarily a big name. But that finale was so amazing to me that it would almost incentivize, in my opinion, Saturday Night Live to look for more hosts like that, as opposed to the Kims and the Billies. And I'm okay with some Kims and Billies, but I still think that they're missing that element that would be really important for all the good that's happening in season 47. This is my one criticism, I'd say.
Yeah, and we've talked offline about the fact that, they've done so much Marvel crossover with SNL this year. And where are all these great Marvel actresses, the Catherine Hahns and, people like that who would kill on the show? And even bringing back alumni. I mean, we did get Kristen last year, but yeah, it's kind of questionable how they've booked hosts. Even last year, I mean, we kind of blamed it on COVID with all the new people that they had come on, and they had a lot of British actors come on. But yeah, I don't understand this direction, and maybe the numbers will even out by the time we get to episode 20 at the end of the year.
Yeah, for sure. And look, again, Billie Eilish did a great job on the show. I think the show was really good in certain aspects, but as somebody who now has a platform to talk about Saturday Night Live and hasn't people who I respect come on the show with us, I just felt like I couldn't not bring it up because I am watching this and I'm seeing Billie Eilish come on in her monologue and say that she's not traditionally an actress, but she's going to do her best on the show, and all of that is wonderful. I just would love to see more of that in season 47B. So hopefully we'll get more of that. Okay, let's talk about the Billie Eilish episode, and let's talk about the cold open. So the major storyline coming into this week, we saw like earlier in the week when they filmed the Kennedy Center honors for Lorne Michaels. And by the way, big congratulations to Lorne on that honor. So we saw that Kate McKinnon was there, and that goes to show everybody she was back in the States and that she would be back at Saturday Night Live. And, we got to see it. Kate saying, very extended applause breaks. I don't think anybody was applauding for Dr. Fauci. They were all applauding to see Kate McKinnon back on the show. So, Morgan, what did it mean to you to see Kate McKinnon back at Saturday Night Live?
I thought that it was like an interesting choice because we knew that she was going to be back, and we saw her in the promo on their socials. But we didn't know like where they were gonna, put her in, and we didn't know if she was going to be in the cold open or what. So to see her like starting the show, like her face in the screen, like as Fauci, I think was just like everyone was just so happy to see her and for her to like really kick off the show and kind of like tell everyone like she's back and like she definitely probably missed it. And it was a good line. Like she was talking about, I mean, it was like Fauci saying how he was back and then it was Kate also meaning that. So it was a good intro.
Yeah. It was nice. It was nice to see her, Sammy. Like I kind of just felt like she just like fit right back in. There was no bumps. It was just really smooth to see Kate back on the show. Did you enjoy seeing her at the start?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was watching the show with a group of friends, and the cold open starts, and a couple minutes go into it, and my friend turns to me and he goes, "Oh, Kate McKinnon's back," and he's not even like a huge fan of the show, but even he kind of noticed over the last couple of weeks that she hasn't been around. So obviously that goes to show her impact that she had or has on the show. But no, I thought it was like that choice of the "I'm back" line was so interesting to me because I'm trying to think of like a time where SNL kind of like acknowledged something like this, where, you know, it's almost like she's it's when like a former cast member comes back, and, you know, there's like a big, like, you know, bump from the audience and stuff like that. I can't remember a time where, you know, a cast member, you know, left for, you know, filming something or whatever, and comes back to like such a, you know, the show stating like this is a big deal. So I thought that was like really cool to see.
Yeah, Bill, I can only relate it, and I forget if this got brought up on Saturday or not, but the only thing that I can think this is sort of like was when Amy Poehler came back from her pregnancy. Is that ring a bell to you?
Amy and Tina, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those would really be the only times before the last couple of years where they had people miss extended time and still come back as part of the cast. I mean, Cecily and Adie missed some time last year, but there wasn't a big audience when they came back either. So, and I don't think they missed quite as much time, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. Well, Bill, let me ask you, like, in the trajectory of Kate McKinnon as a cast member on Saturday Night Live, obviously, you know, legendary cast member, somebody who's been around for a long time and on a lot of, you know, pretty famous sketches, really somebody who I would say defines this era of the show. Do you think that her, you know, leaving the show for a little bit, you know, this just like temporary break and then coming back before her, you know, the twilight of her SNL career, is this going to have an impact overall in people's view of her post SNL one day?
I don't think so. I think it's almost like a salve that she was gone for a little while and kind of took some of the pressure away from the cast is so big. Oh, the old timers have been there for so long. What are we going to do? There's 21 people, and ourselves included, have talked about this. But yeah, I don't think it affects her at all. I think she'll just fit right back in. It'll be like she never left, and we'll continue to see if it's the end of this season or if it's somewhere in the middle of this season or even next season. I think she's cemented her legacy for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I do think that it's a big wait and see for me to see how the rest of season 47 will be with Kate on the show. But in my opinion, the first 7 episodes of the season looked a lot different than the show we saw on Saturday night. That's how I really felt. So I'm curious to see. I don't think one person coming in is going to change overall the tone of the show, but this episode to me could have been a show from, you know, 46 or 45 or 44, not necessarily season 47. And I felt like there's been a lot of welcome change in season 47. So Sammy, any opinion there about, like, you know, Kate coming back and how that could change the overall tone of the show?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it certainly did. And if you know, we talked a little bit, or I saw on social media how, like, if you look at the writers and who was kind of getting sketches on this week, it was definitely, you know, some more of like the vets as opposed to the newbies. But I mean, you know, overall, you know, I think I had more of a positive opinion on the episode as a whole than maybe some other people on the panel. But I definitely was kind of missing, you know, some, that wasn't shade or anything like that. But I definitely was, you know, missing, you know, some of that flavor that we've gotten recently. So.
Okay. Well, let's talk briefly about the cold open. So the cold open is Fauci and the CDC players. So we had different players come in. Morgan, was there anything that you particularly liked in the cold open?
I personally like when they show a lot of the cast members in a sketch, because I love seeing all of them and like seeing what parts they're going to play and how they're going to interact with each other. So I loved how they were bringing out kind of like a big group of them, and seeing them interact and seeing like Kate kind of be that like moderator dialogue person between the CDC actors and kind of like running the show. So I thought that there was a lot of good dialogue there, and it wasn't like too intense. Sometimes when they talk about COVID or like politics, they can get like very intense with it. But I didn't think it got too crazy there, and it was overall a good opening, I thought.
Interesting. See, Morgan, not to completely shit on your point, but I will say that I don't know if this is a hot.
I know what you're going to say.
I'm going to say that
Marjorie Taylor and I don't even know the other girl's name. They were extreme.
Lauren Boebert. Yeah.
Lauren,
Okay. Well, that's
yeah,
not what I was going to say.
That's it.
Morgan, I was going to say, after podcasting about almost a year and a half of Saturday Night Live, I will tell you that overall, people love sketches that have less people in them. I just think that there's an overall general consensus. I think there was one exception in this show, which we'll talk about, later down the roundtable. We'll talk about one exception, in my opinion, which really worked. But I think there should be no more than 10 cast members in any single sketch. I know this isn't the hot take show, so I'm not going to go crazy on this, but I'm just saying, I think that just because you have 21 cast members does not mean we have to throw them all in so many sketches, because it really extends the length of some of these sketches past the point of working. And that's what I think.
Yeah,
Bill,
I get your point there for sure. Yeah, I get your point there. I just love seeing like all of them and what they're gonna do. And sometimes like when a lot of them don't get enough airtime, I'm like, oh, I wish I saw them. So like that's why I like seeing a lot of them.
Yeah.
But sometimes it doesn't convey the point. But yeah.
Okay. Bill, thoughts on this discussion?
I have less of a problem with how many people are in the sketch than how many people are saying live from New York. But I've said that before. I cannot stand this anymore. How many people have to say it? I mean, are we just trying to give everybody a cookie now? Like, I just don't get it. The only part I really didn't like about this was 80s Ted Cruz, which I can't stop not liking her portrayal of this. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I don't like that she's not really doing an impression. I don't know what it is, but this has bothered me since all the way back to last season when she was doing it on the Britney Spears show. Other than that, I liked this cold open. I think that Heidi and Mikey I did a really good job. I like Pete and Andrew coming out as the Cuomo brothers and saying they got fired. They lost their jobs because of COVID. and the Fauci interjections for all of these things, like, no, you can get a replacement card, I think. Or you didn't lose your job because of COVID. I like those little interjections by Kate as Fauci. But yeah, overall, it was probably about a B-. But yeah, the Cruz stuff has to stop.
Yeah. And again, I'll just say there was stuff that worked here. Sammy, I want to give you an opportunity before I play any sound clips for me that worked. Tell me things that you liked from the cold open.
Ooh, things I liked. I mean, I thought I thought this was like a pretty serviceable cold open. I mean, they did this CDC players thing, I think last season, right? And I remember at the time
Keegan-Michael Key was the episode they did this.
Okay, yeah. I really enjoyed that. And I think that towards the later half of last season, I like thought this was like a nice change of pace for the cold open. So the actual like CDC players aspect of it, I thought was fun. The Bowen and Ego thing about the Mile High Club was funny, and the thing with the bit with Kyle and Melissa about the conspiracy theory with the enlarged testicles being able to sense Santa's lap. I mean, I thought that was good. And then you throw in. AD is Ted Cruz, and I mean, I have it in my notes that I'm definitely. I think the first time I saw this impression, I was like, oh, this is like fun for like the shock value of it, and like, it's definitely something that like Ted Cruz at home, if he's seeing it, is like getting pissed off about it, which I enjoy. But it's kind of like for me, like outstayed its welcome. But yeah, I mean, overall, I thought it was fairly serviceable, and that's pretty much my thoughts on it.
Yeah, that's fair. And speaking of people who got upset about this cold open, Lauren Boebert, Representative Lauren Boebert, got very upset on Twitter, and we'll talk about that more on the patron feedback show about what she said about Chloe Fineman. So that was pretty wild. But Sammy, you brought this up. Kyle Mooney, this was one of my favorite parts.
Thanks to the vaccine, my testicles have ballooned in size.
Just like he had some crazy deliveries of lines in this episode that I thought really, really worked. But my favorite part of the cold open was Cecily, and this is really I guess Cecily, I believe she has a Broadway show I think she's working on right now, so I don't know if that's the reason why we had like a little bit of a quiet night for Cecily, just came in for the cold open. But she said this.
It's pronounced gun.
When she was introduced as Marjorie Taylor Greene. And that was a great line from Cecily. So there was some good here. And seeing Kate McKinnon back, as I will say, to just wrap up this whole discussion, for me, Kate McKinnon is by far one of the best cast members in the history of Saturday Night Live. I'm so thrilled anytime we get to see Kate on screen, and I think we should cherish having Kate on screen. I just am looking for certain things from the show moving forward, and I want to continue to have them take those steps with Kate McKinnon potentially, finishing out her run as a cast member. Okay. Let's talk about the sketches that we want to talk about from this show. So, Sammy, I will start with you. Can you please tell us the sketch that you really want to bring up and talk about?
Yes, I'm excited to talk about this one because I feel like even though I didn't look a lot online about the reactions, I felt like I maybe was in the minority on this one. I love to be a contrarian. The hip hop nativity scene sketch. This sketch was just like a vibe for me. I just like enjoyed the escalation of all these different pieces of like the Kyle doing the pimp walk, and I'm sure you've got a sound effect of the pimp walk. Lay that out whenever.
Pimp walk, yeah.
I was doing
Sammy,
a sitting pimp walk there.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I to be a little more focused in on like why I like this sketch. I just loved like all the visuals. Like at the end, like it's like it's almost like an orchestra symphony of like everything coming together. Of like the Dismukes, Baby Jesus twerking. Sarah Bowen and Chris Redd as the donkeys, like doing like their twerking or whatever. I don't know. I just like the visual humor of it all was just so silly, so goofy. Like this could have been a 10-1 sort of thing, but it was earlier on the show. And like I do also want to shout out Heidi. This is like another example of her getting like a great, kind of leading role in the sketch this season. And I feel like last season, if they had done this would have been something that like Kate would have done. So this is almost like a ripple effect of her being gone for so long. I feel like Heidi, even with Kate back on the show, started getting these chances. So yeah, I'm really curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this one.
Well, can I just say one thing about Heidi Gardner, which I noticed over the last couple episodes? I think in the Simu Liu episode, we had her in the karaoke sketch doing that father-daughter thing with Alex Moffat. And then we had this happening here with the pimp walk stuff. And I would say that what I love about what Heidi's doing this season is we're getting physical comedy from Heidi that we never got in previous seasons. Because when she used to be known for the stuff that she would do on Update, she would be confined to her chair mostly, sitting on the Weekend Update desk. But now to actually see her walking around and dancing and doing things, and she is like like a tall actress, so she's actually somebody who could do physical comedy that's unlike some of the other people on the cast particularly. So I actually think it's really cool to get to see something different from Heidi in this one. Morgan, thoughts on hip hop nativity?
You could tell like even before they like started speaking, like Heidi was like locked into this character and she was just like ready to like tear it up, and you can tell that like everybody like on that stage like knew that like the funniness of it or like the laughs were gonna come out because it was just like such a silly skit and like all their costumes and like Andrew like in his diaper. So it was just like great energy, and Billy was like very much rubbing off on Heidi's energy, and you can tell that they were kind of like making each other more comfortable on stage like in that character, and I loved seeing that, and it was just so fun. I was like laughing out loud at it. It was just like so random and silly. I know people like more of those like serious ones, and these ones like I'm obviously this one was way more like out of the box and silly, and like they were like doing funny moves and stuff. But sometimes it's just like nice to see like good old like fun, and they were having so much fun, and I loved seeing that.
Yeah, I guess I see that point. I mean, the thing for me was like, Bill, I'd love to hear your opinion on the sketch before I give mine. Yeah.
This was the only weak spot in the episode for me, and I wonder how tired Heidi was on Sunday from carrying this sketch on her back. She was the only funny thing in this sketch. Sorry, guys. When she jumped on the stripper pole and yelled "Praise Baby Jesus," that was pretty fantastic. I don't know. This just didn't work for me. Maybe if it was later in the episode. I got weird vibes the entire episode of almost like reboots of characters from the 90s. And I kept getting this leg up reboot from these two, from Molly and Sherry in the 90s. I don't know. Maybe it was the way they were dressed or their 80s poofy hair or what it was. But yeah, this did not work for me on any level.
Yeah, because it didn't work for me either, and I think that the main thing here was like I don't understand what the point of the sketch was. Like I followed I was following the trail. Like what I always like to do when I watch an SNL sketch is like I like to buy into the world of the sketch. I think that's how you enjoy SNL the most. Is you choose to believe whatever it is they're telling you at the start of the sketch. So I'm trying to buy into this fact that these two instructors are trying to teach these people this go in a hip hop direction, but like. I guess what I was missing is like why, and then like once they did it, what happens then? Like I just felt like there was like layers upon layers that were missing from this premise overall, unfortunately, that I think took away from me. So if I'm going to accept, what Morgan and Sammy are saying in that they enjoyed this purely because this was really fun, I could buy that for sure. But I think what I look for in fun is like, by comparison, in the Reggae Jean episode last season, there was like two rival families that were doing like church dancing. I think it was when they're in a house. And like, I'll compare like the two dancing sketches from last season to this season. And I think that one, sold on the fun because everybody was like showing off different dance moves, and Beck was doing the worm, and it got like really crazy. But I just felt like there was also a lack of escalation here in a way that that like took away from it for me. So Sammy, I do want to give you a chance to rebut before we move on to anything else. So is there anything else you do want to say about this one?
Yeah, I don't know. I wrote in my notes that is the writing of this sketch clever or original or anything? No, not at all. But I just loved like I don't know. This just like hit me in the sweet spot of where like just the actual like I wanted to like frame the visual of them all at the end, like just dancing, like the baby Jesus twerking. I mean, when they put in like the hay and everything in Dismuke's like trousers or whatever. Like, I don't know. There's just like everything from just like a funny visual standpoint really got me. And it also had one of my favorite line deliveries of the episode from Billie Eilish, where there was something like, make sure you're shaking your booty or something. And like Bone Yang's like, don't you mean ass? And then Billie Eilish is like, that's not funny. Like she does this like pause there where I'm like, are you like a trained like comedian as well as like a big pop sensation? Like I thought, like, I don't know. Everyone at home, give this one another shot.
Okay.
That's all
Sammy,
I'm saying.
I have two theories of why this actually worked for you. Okay. And I'll tell you what they are. Number one is that you were watching this sketch with friends when you were watching it. And I think that sometimes makes these sketches that are more fun than funny work a lot better as when you're watching them with friends. Okay. Number two, this is what I was going to bring up at the beginning of the podcast. This is my theory for you, Sammy, that Andrew Dismukes is your new Bobby Moynihan. And I think you love everything that Andrew does.
That is like, I gotta like process that real quick because I do really enjoy Dismukes, but like Bobby Moynihan is like, he's like my guy. So if in a couple of years, when we're still doing this show and we look back at Dismukes' career and he has a Bobby Moynihan level sort of sketch catalog, like in his back pocket, I'll be very happy. So I'm hoping you're right on that one.
Yeah, I have a theory with Andrew that it's not that Andrew and Bobby are necessarily the same like archetypes or the same, like cast members in terms of their overall growth, but I think the people who like Bobby Moynihan will also like Andrew Dismukes because of the way that they deliver their lines. They could just say the one-off line in a scene that's very funny, and like those are the types of people. If you like Bobby, you're going to like Andrew. That's my theory. Okay. Morgan, let's talk about the next sketch in the episode that you want to talk about. So let's bring it up.
I'm going to be talking about the hotel ad sketch that was right at the end there. Just before we even dive in, like this one just like caught my attention right away because like I kind of like knew where they were heading with this. Like I used to be a dancer when I was younger, and we would like travel around and we would stay at the weirdest hotels, and SNL did like an unreal job at like every detail of this hotel, like from the way that there's always like a weird stain on a couch or from the bandage color blanket. Like they literally just nailed it perfectly. So from the start I was laughing and I was like, that's so accurate. And then we see Billy and Kate just like standing there as like the hotel managers right away, and you're just like, oh no, like what are they gonna say here? And I just thought that their dialogue together was like hilarious, and they really played like that weird hotel manager like vibe really well. And there were so many amazing like lines in there and like ways that they were playing off of each other. Whether they were like talking about the hotel breakfast or when they were like talking to 80, who was this funny concierge. Um, and then I thought
Doreen.
Doreen, Phineas, then Billy's brother got to do a little bit. And that was accurate again with the one guy working there being the valet, being the luggage guy, being the night manager, like doing all of the above. And they just like nailed it. And everything that they were saying was so hilarious. And I would definitely rewatch it over and over again.
Yeah. Bill, this one actually grew on me. I think the second time I watched it. I think the night of, I was a little bit like, I think I was a little disheveled that Please Don't Destroy and Angelo were cut. And I was like, what? No. And then I think when I rewatched this, I enjoyed it more. How did you feel about it?
Loved it from the start for all the reasons that Morgan mentions. Plus, yeah, it's very relatable. Pre-COVID, we traveled a lot, and when we had less money, we would definitely end up in a place between the DMV and the darkened Sonic, right? Yeah, I mean, there's so many great lines with the breakfast, the wet eggs, and the sausage that squirts. The yogurt, wake up at 4, bitch.
Yeah, I got that one right here for you.
You wanted yogurt? Wake up at 4, bitch.
So many bitch lines this season
Honestly.
in season 47. It's crazy. We have the Dismukes one. We have this one, which is always a classic.
I'm Shang-Chi, bitch!
Just crazy how many bitch lines. Sorry, Bill. Go ahead.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, and this is another one where I felt like it was almost a reboot of characters. It felt like Kate's cat lady met the ex-porn stars, listing off things that, are crazy. The tiny soap and the plastic and the Band-Aid covered blanket. And yeah, I mean, this work, and especially Kate trying to make Billy break the entire time was so fantastic this late in the night. Yeah, everything about this worked for me as a 10-1.
Okay, good. Sammy, what about you?
I think I'm more so on the same page as you, John. Like on the night, like I liked it fine. I definitely kind of at first glance had the sort of feeling of like, oh, this is something that like, Kate and 80 would do that we've like seen a bunch, but with Billy. But then when I watched it again, definitely just the observations, were all like so accurate. And then as like the sketch was going on, where it was less so just like, showing pictures of like things you'd see, at the hotel room, yeah, there were a bunch of those really funny lines, like the yogurt line. There was a line there that like the delivery from Kate, I don't know if you guys like, this is just like a weird connection I made, but she says something like, it's the location that will make your Uber driver say, you sure? That sounded like a Stefan joke. I don't know. In the way that like when like that happened when I was watching it, I just like, it's almost like I had like this flashback to like watching, like it's like, has Stefan done this before? But yeah, I don't know. I definitely one that grew on me. And I liked Billy's like deadpan sort of delivery in the sketch where she was like trying not to break the entire time, but was able to pretty much get to the end with it. So.
Yeah, and I'm going to double down on what I said on Saturday. I do think that Billie Eilish was the best part of a lot of the sketches of the night. Like, I really feel like super impressive on her to elevate a lot of the writing that we've seen. And not to criticize any writing here, because I think that if you really like take the opportunity to watch this sketch in isolation, there's a lot of really clever writing here and really like minute details, like we said, that are really impressive. So I think if you stayed at any of these hotels or anything similar, this one really gets you. So it was just it was a really great call for them to include this in the episode. And I'm definitely going to walk back a little bit what I said. I think that I'm happy that this one was in there, maybe just, switching a few others throughout the night. But Bill, can we hear the sketch that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Lonely Christmas ad. Again, bringing Kate and Billy together. We just talked about on the Christmas Superfan episode about Kate's amazing performance with very few words in Love Actually a few years ago as Hillary Clinton. And she does it again here. I mean, there's so little dialogue in this, and it's the dialogue there is pretty much unneeded. Kate is the old woman who looks like she's lonely and missing her dead husband, and Billy reaching out to her via notepad. And the escalation, what we're always looking for, the escalation as she turns into the racist murderer that's now bringing Rutger along with her. Um, the they could have stopped it after she's talking about eating dog and things like that, but bringing Mikey Day on and terrifying everyone, and finding out that she's keeping him sick. Did we ever figure out if he's related to her or not?
No, on Saturday, I think Rebecca thought that Rutger was Kate McKinnon's son in this sketch, but I have seen no evidence of this. Morgan, are you nodding your head? Is that what it is or no?
That's what I thought. It was her son.
I did
Okay.
too, and I mean, unless she kidnapped this guy, which would make even more sense,
Okay.
I suppose. But I mean, she does say her whole family's dead to her, so maybe not. But yeah, I mean, no, this is fantastic, and even the way it ends.
Did Rutger vote for Hillary Clinton? That's what we needed more information about.
Did she start poisoning before 2016? I guess that's the. But yeah, I mean, she says, "I didn't kill my husband. Margaret did," and then he holds up the sign that says she is Margaret. Just classic escalation. Kate does this so well. Billy is completely game in this as well. Yeah, I think everything about this was fantastic.
Yeah. Bill, can I ask you one more question about this sketch?
Yeah.
For me, if this was a different era of the show, I actually think that the characters of Kate McKinnon's older lady and Rutger in Mikey Day would actually be taken out of the pre-tape and then put into other sketches. Do you think that is something they could do here? Because I actually think that they were like, these are two really interesting characters.
I think we could see a Weekend Update piece. Sure, why not?
Yeah, I would love that, honestly. Sammy, let me get your thoughts on Lonely Christmas Ad.
That's a really interesting take there. I'm trying to now imagine how they would do that, but no, I really enjoyed this. Similar to what Bill said, I actually picked that Hillary actually sketch when we did the the Superfan takeover for the Christmas special we did recently. So when this sketch started, I'm like, oh, this is like Kate in her bag. She is able to do so much with so little. And yeah, I thought this one was super funny. A lot of the written out signs and everything like that. Very, very just solid joke writing. I don't know where I lost my thought there, but yeah, I mean, overall, I also wanted to mention the sort of button at the end there with the next door ad, which I thought was such a great way to kind of end it, because I feel like a lot of the times when SNL does these kind of pre-tapes, or at the end it's a commercial that you didn't know about, a lot of times I feel like they're just kind of afterthoughts. But for me, the next door sort of button at the end added a lot to it. I'm like, oh yeah, you don't want that sort of person living in your neighborhood, so go on next door. Very minute sort of detail there that kind of added to the sketch for me. But overall, I enjoyed it.
It's a good point. And actually, I had to ask Nicole Rovine during the episode what Next Door is, because I actually don't think they have that up in Canada. So for me, this was an American joke that actually flew over my head. But then when I got to find out, it actually was a great button on the sketch. So yeah, Phil, you're going to say
that never happens, John. Have you figured out who Flo from Progressive is yet?
That is a kid. Okay, that was that was bad.
Canada's very safe. You don't need an app like that. Everything's fine. Right.
Yes, exactly. That's for sure. Yeah, I can invite old ladies over whenever they want to come over for Christmas, and I don't have to worry about any Rutgers or anything like that. Okay, Morgan, thoughts on the Lonely Christmas Ad?
We know that Kate is very versatile in her characters. She's literally played every kind of character, and she loves getting weird. So to see her back in a really weird character and almost a scary character was fun to watch. And she's just such a good actress that, yeah, with no words, she just pulled it off with her facials, and with pure acting, she was awesome. And you can tell that Bill, like in the beginning, like Billie was so wholesome and was like trying to do a good thing. And the whole time she was trying to like be nice. When it kept getting weirder and weirder and scarier. So overall, I liked it. I love when they do like the Love Actually ones, because that one with Hillary was like one of my favorites of all time. Obviously, this was way different, but similar concept.
Yeah, and I think this was my favorite pre-tape of the season. I really think so. When I have to like think about all the different ones, really 2 points here. I think this was the best Kate McKinnon of the night, and I think this was my favorite pre-tape, at least so far in season 47. I just felt that, to my original point about having less cast members in certain sketches, the fact is that the subtlety of why this pre-tape works for me is that Billie Eilish at the beginning, asks her mom and asks her dad, which are voices in the background. Can I have her over for dinner? We didn't have, and I believe the voices, if we got this right, are Heidi Gardner and Streeter Seidel. They didn't come behind Billie and go to look to see what was happening across the window and see what was happening with Kate McKinnon. They kept it between these three cast members, and I felt like that was the brilliance of this, was that it was a great concept that escalated really well between three cast members, and something that's so shareable because you don't get tired of it. It's really a conversation back and forth and watching the escalation. And unlike things like the Christmas cards on the fridge or the TikTok, you could probably stop that part way through and get it and be like, okay, I've seen enough of what this is going to be. But here, this just, I felt like it could have kept going. So I actually got the opposite effect here. So just really brilliant stuff by all of them. Obviously, unfortunately, no sound clips I could pull from this particular sketch. I know somebody on Twitter wrote to me and says, you're not going to get any sound clips from this one. And yeah, they were right. Okay. Let's talk about the sketch that I want to talk about. And I want to talk about the TikTok one that I brought up earlier. And to me, this was a lot of fun. And it's like I said, sketches with a lot of cast members in them don't always work for me, but I felt like this one did. I felt that the differences between all the cast members was really cool to get to see. They basically went to every cast member and they said, hey, what do you want to play in this particular one? And I thought it was fun to, as you're watching this, to start to see when is this person going to come in? What are they going to do with it? And I felt like, I don't know, I felt like there was something here that really worked for me. Sammy, how did you feel about the TikTok sketch we got?
Yeah, this one was great. As someone who is on TikTok a lot, you could definitely point and see the references they're making to the kind of trends they're doing. I do think this is the sort of thing where, similar to me, a couple weeks ago with the Squid Game sketch they did. I didn't watch Squid Game, so I really didn't have a ton of enjoyment out of the sketch. But, similarly, I can see if you're not someone who uses TikTok or is on, that everything was so accurate that on its own maybe wouldn't be super funny. Definitely some more than others in that pre-tape. For me, the personal favorite ones were the Kyle Mooney Spider-Man No Way Home trailer reaction guy who ends up with A.D. Bryant's sort of I guess thirst trappy character. And then Dismukes doing the again going to Dismukes. I was there for the Flow Rida acoustic guitar cover. That was great.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no, keep it going. That's my guy.
Yeah.
But
how did I know you were going to bring that up?
Right. Yeah. But yeah, and I also enjoyed you can almost follow the storylines within the world of the characters. Like I said, Kyle and AD end up together. There's the whole running bit that actually pays off with the Alex Moffat dad character making a TikTok at the end. So this easily could have just been a bunch of TikToks one after the other that don't really connect. But I think the sketch takes it to or goes the extra mile by having those kind of insular worlds that you kind of see throughout the sketch and the running sort of the threads.
Yeah, and Sammy, I know you're a TikTok king, so I do want to ask you: is there any of all the cast members in this TikTok? Were there any that relate to the type of TikToks you create?
Relate? That's tricky. I don't know. I definitely am not like the Kyle Mooney character, but I do definitely talk about or make reference to sort of the movies and stuff like that. So maybe, but I want to strive to be more like the Andrew Dismukes character. So I'm gonna have to learn how to play guitar.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to find good 2000 songs to cover. I love that. I love the lollipop one too, though. So great. Morgan, I know you are a TikToker, so can you tell me what you thought of this sketch?
Well, first off, I loved how like SNL was taking like a stab on TikTok and like kind of addressing it, because like we know that it's a very relevant social media platform nowadays. And I don't know like that many of the cast members that actually like are on TikTok and are making TikTok, and like SNL's TikTok like isn't the cast members doing funny things. It's like they really just repost clips and sketches from the show. So it's like it was really funny to see the cast members like actually like participating in these trends that are happening on TikTok like in their own way. And I just wanted to keep scrolling. Like I wanted to keep watching them, and they all had like their unique little videos and characters. And they really hit the mark on like all the trends and all the kinds of like people that make videos. Like you have the nurse talk, like all the nurses making the TikToks, and then you have like the movie reviews guy, then you have the thirst traps like with the Chris Red and the 80 Brian, and then Heidi did one that was like mom of 8 kids like cooking for them, and like there's multiple TikTokers that do that kind of bit. So it was really good to see like that mix of actual trends going on TikTok, but then like incorporating it, and then it all tied back to the storyline of taking out the trash, checking your text from your dad. So like I thought that they did a really good job overall. I honestly would have like loved to just keep watching it.
Yeah, definitely. And Morgan, were there any TikToks on here that were very similar to ones that you would see on your For You page?
Yes, definitely. Like I see the nurses on my For You page like doing things, and then I also see like reviews on things like movies and things like that. Pete did like the island guy one that was famous for a little bit, that was trending. I think that was the only time, or besides the opening, I think that was like the only time we really saw Pete. Am I wrong?
He was
like
the Hunter cousin in the Christmas cards as well,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah. But yeah, like he had like little relevant roles going on the whole episode. So it was awesome. And you see Kate like as like her username was herself. It was like something Kate McKinnon, not Kate McKinnon. And it was like telling everyone to stop scrolling and stopping on social media. And that's so her, because she doesn't have any social media.
Right.
So that was a good little plug in there. But overall, I thought it was great.
Yeah, me too. Actually, if I had to say one that I get all the time on my For You page, it is definitely the Melissa Villaseñor's "Put a Finger Down" girl. That stuff I get all the time. So, Bill, what were your thoughts on the TikTok pre-tape?
This was really funny and relatable. I guess my only complaint is that TikTok superstar Sammy Kay was not in it. Hashtag get Sammy on TikTok on SNL. No, this was fantastic. It feels a little late in the TikTok game for this to be coming on, don't you think? I mean, this is kind of like when your mom joined Facebook. It was like, okay, this is over now. TikTok's been around for a long time. Like, I don't understand how this is the first time we've really kind of tackled this on SNL. But other than that, it was really funny. Yeah, I really liked the Billy and Sarah nurses thing. Chris Red was really funny, telling his mom he's thirst trapping. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of good stuff in this, a lot of relatable, funny TikToks. We just watch cat and dog TikToks at my house with my 11-year-old, so I don't really see a lot of these other ones too much, but
Yeah, actually, Bill, you want to know the TikToks that I get the most? It's the taco on Weekend Update with the dogs pressing the buttons. That's actually the TikToks that I get the most on my For You page. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting perspective that SNL decided to cover the TikTok or cover TikTok now, and it makes you wonder if SNL's trying to end TikTok because it may not be as cool. But I think,
just to jump in, I mean, I think it does kind of tie back to the Billie Eilish of it all. I do think like there's a scenario where like SNL would have tried to do this with a different host that, you know, it could have been like kind of cringe, because I who knows how much like input she like had into like, no, this is not something that would be on TikTok. This is just like a dumb sort of, thing you'd see on another social media platform. So I do think like, it may be like a little late in the game to do it, but if they were going to do it all this season, I'm kind of happy they did it now with like someone like Billie Eilish, who's actually like in that kind of TikTok generation.
Yeah, and this was our Please Don't Destroy written sketch of the episode. So it was interesting to see the new guys get involved in this one. One last point I will bring up about this one was I just, after watching this the second time, the 80 like Brian character in this was so hilarious. And I know it's playing on like plenty of people on TikTok who do this, but I just have to say the way 80 did it was so amazing.
When you're so good at sex, he gets scared.
It was good. And then to finish it off,
When you finish your homework in time to choke out your sub.
they went there. Yeah, that was crazy. All right. Well, I did really enjoy that one, despite the amount of people in it. Sammy, let me ask you, was there anything else from the episode that you want to make sure we talk about?
Yeah, I would love to give a shout out to the return of a Kyle Mooney SNL Cinematic Universe pre-tape, Kyle's Holiday. I don't think it's necessarily in like the upper echelon of these sort of Kyle Mooney behind the scenes sketches. But I did enjoy the bit where, he's talking about his friends at SNL and, Kenan Thompson. Oh, that guy's so nice. And they show like the what up with that, clip to the side. And he's like, even though, he still calls me Beck Bennett, which I think might be the first reference we've gotten to Beck since he's left the show this season. So that, I thought that was kind of like a nice shout out. And I did like, just adding on to the lore, we have like this kind of Mikey Kyle feud, going on where at the end he has this great line where Kyle's like, I'm the star of the show. I'm Don Jr. Like that's like the character that he would be most excited to play. And now I need to see, Kyle Mooney, next time they do the Don Jr. Eric Trump thing, if they ever do it, let's let Kyle Mooney take it for a spin. But yeah, so.
Yeah, I did really enjoy this one as well. I thought there was just so many great lines in this one. Morgan, what were your thoughts on Kyle's Holiday?
I love when Kyle like does these pre-tapes. Like, first off, he's just like such like a silly guy. Like the way that he like shows himself and how he like is just as a person, I guess his personality and like how he presents himself is just like so funny. He's like this quirky, like shy guy, but also he's like super smart and like creative and hilarious. So like just to see like that side, quirky side come out again, like take over the sketch or the pre-tape was just like so awesome. And his dialogue between like all the other cast members, and there were some great lines in there also. And when he was like wrapping up Mikey Day, like in the closet and stuff, like I was just laughing so hard. Like it was just the cherry on top. So it was great.
So good. So good. Bill, any lines particular stand out to you?
He snuck in an Office Space line, which I thought was hilarious. And I don't know how many people even caught it when he's talking to, I think he was talking to Bowen and he said, "Don't be naughty." Oh. That one, and I like the PDD line. PDD guys say I shouldn't even be alive.
Yeah, there were so many. Here's the two that I really loved.
Well, if the plane crashes or anything.
That was crazy when he says that to Bowen. That was such a good one. And then this one, which as soon as I heard it, I knew that this was coming right out of our mouths, which was,
they don't know how to use me on this show.
Yep. That's right, Kyle. Bill, any overall thoughts on Kyle's Holiday before we move on?
I warmed up a little bit on rewatch to this. I've come back around to Kyle a little bit this season, seeing him in other things and seeing him kind of expand and get out of this kind of pigeonhole that he's had himself in. So to see him go back to this kind of upset me on Saturday night a little bit. But watching it 2 or 3 more times, I found a lot more funny. And he did find a couple of unique things that he hadn't done before. So, yeah, it was okay.
Okay, that makes sense. Morgan, anything else in the episode that you want to make sure we talk about?
I definitely want to talk about the Christmas card one, and that was kind of like towards the beginning. I thought that this one was also just like a relatable one. Like most people, like I guess like maybe not. I don't really know more like nowadays because like of technology and social media and things. You can just like text someone your holiday card or post it on Facebook. But like my family back in the day, we used to get them like all in the mail, and then my mom would like hang them on our door, like on the inside, so we could like see like which ones we got from like who, from family or friends or whatever. And it was just it's so funny, like the amount of people and like the different kinds of people that are in those cards. They really like touched on that with like all different kinds of people that they crossed paths with in their life. And then to see the cards like come to life. And John, I know that there were a lot of people in this sketch, but I mean, I feel like you kind of needed all those people in it to really convey the point. But it was hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, and I get that. I didn't hate this one. I just felt like there was some parts that worked like way better than others. Like I feel like the TikTok one was like more even across the board. Like everyone had something to say and it like was funny. But I felt like here there were like some really like peaks and valleys in this one, and probably that's why it didn't appeal to me as much as it could have. Bill, what were your thoughts on the Lonely Christmas ad?
Yeah, this was definitely up and down for me. It is definitely relatable. We certainly get all these kind of ridiculous cards from, people we haven't talked to in 10 years, or, the dentist one was pretty funny as well. But my favorite was the Miley and the Punky one for sure. Punky having a really good night but how this is the only thing Miley was in is kind of upsetting. But yeah, the whole thing. Oh, you're Anna Montana. I hate your music. I mean, you can just see that celebrities must deal with that constantly and have to deal with people not even liking them, but realizing that they're famous. So let me take a picture with you. So yeah, it was pretty good for me. I like the fact we talked about this in the preseason, who was going to take the dad roles, and I had said Alex, and I think we saw that a lot tonight between this and the TikTok. Like he's kind of taken that husband slash dad.
And don't forget
role
about the
from that.
karaoke one as well.
Yeah, that was a different kind of daddy, but yeah, I think so.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, what I am curious about, Sammy, before we get to you, is I just want to ask, does everybody here put their Christmas cards like or holiday cards up on their fridge? Is that like something that you guys all do in your families? Like show of hands. Everybody do that? No. So Bill, you actually don't do that, right?
We hang them around the living room.
Okay, got it. Okay, yeah. Sammy, what about you?
Don't really get Christmas cards. I guess we sometimes get like New Year's cards, but again, being Jewish, not so much.
Yeah, well, same. Well, I was gonna say my family is more of when we get invitations to weddings, we will put them on the fridge, and it could be like 7 years past that wedding, and the invitation to the wedding from 2014 is still on the fridge.
Yeah, so that definitely happens. I guess that would be my version of this scenario.
Yes, exactly. So, Sammy, thoughts on Christmas cards?
Yeah, no, it's the type of sketch kind of like what you were alluding to, where like, there's two characters that come on where it's like, okay, this is really good. And then they go to the next one. It's like, all right, not so much. I do think the Miley Punky one was probably my favorite. With the second, actually, no, the Bowen and Keenan couple with like that disgusting sort of dog, wasn't a real dog like we had later in the episode.
I think it was a real dog. Was it not a real dog? Okay,
no way.
I thought I saw online somewhere that it was a real dog. Okay, so
that was a real dog. We gotta find it. No, but it was that I like the kind of chemistry. I feel like we haven't seen I don't know, maybe I'm not thinking, but haven't seen a ton of the Bowen Keenan dynamic, and I liked seeing that from the characters that they had.
That's true. Who needs more help, Pearson Leonard's dog or Rutger? If you have
that's tough. Well, it seems like their dog is getting the care it needs, even if he needs a new spine. He's getting the new spine. Versus like Rutger, it seems like Kate McKinnon's character, or Margaret, it's a detriment to his health. So say the dog.
Yes, for sure. Bill, you have a vote on there?
Oh, Rutger definitely needs more help for sure.
Yeah, Morgan agrees.
I agree on that one.
Okay. For sure. Sammy, the only thing I'm surprised that you did not bring up here was, of course, Andrew Dismukes with the killer line when he says this.
It's girls' faults that I'm not cool.
You know,
so great.
that was a good line. I'll give you that.
Yeah, that was really good. Honestly, best part of this for me was Harper and the family, Billie Eilish, Andrew Dismukes, and Aristotle. I thought Aristotle was so great in this one as well. They were just short, subtle lines, and I really just wanted to see more of this family. So I know, obviously, Billie, we're not going to have coming back so soon, but if she ever did come back, I would love to see this family again, Aristotle, Andrew, and Billie, and I assume Aristotle and Andrew will be on the show a very long time. So you never know. You never know. Okay. Bill, anything else from the episode that you want to make sure we talk about?
Yeah, the Santa song with Billy and Ego and Kate, talking about pairings that we haven't really seen a lot of. I loved seeing Ego and Kate together. Again, this I don't know if it was just my Christmas brain working so much watching of all the Christmas sketches over the years, but this felt like an extension of Santa's My Boyfriend. It was just a little more awkward than that classic gem. But yeah, I mean, some of the good lines in this, Ego's talking about, you met the Santa, the one from the Bible. And Billie was so great in this. This was probably her best live sketch. Obviously, this was in her comfort zone as far as singing. A lot of funny lines that she was given. Yeah, I thought this was pretty good. Awkward encounters with Santa.
Okay. Sammy, anything here for you from Santa Song?
Yeah, I don't have a ton to add on this one. This was probably on the lower end for me. Nothing, super memorable, but I did write down that, you met the Santa from the Bible line. I thought that was a killer Ego line reading there, but overall, not yeah.
Yeah, in retrospect, I think going through the episode, I think this was the one for me that I would probably have taken out if I could have. That's just my 2 cents on it all. I didn't know that there was too much here that I was in love with. Morgan, did you enjoy it more than me?
I thought that this was on the higher side because they really got to showcase Billie, like showing what she does best, like mixed with that comedy side of it. And then you have like Ego and Kate supporting her, which whenever they do these singing ones, I love when Kate and I not together. I think this is their first time like doing something like this together, but separately, like they're always good as those like background singers, like kind of like adding in the dialogue. But Billie, like she didn't really stutter besides when she was like kind of like breaking character a little bit, but like she did such a good job and her voice is just like unreal. And like it was just like a weird sketch and like how they were talking about Santa, and then we see Keenan coming out as Santa, which really tied it all together, and he hit a really like unreal note out of nowhere. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I loved seeing Billie sing in a sketch, and then loved seeing Ego and Kate kind of supporting her there.
Cool. Okay. The only other thing I'd like to mention about this episode in terms of the sketches is just really on Weekend Update. I just enjoyed them showcasing Punky and Andrew. I mean, Andrew just obviously had a killer night. Punky herself just having a chance to do some stand-up on SNL was really fun. Probably really the first time we got to see some of that. So hope we get more of that. I wouldn't say it was anything like extraordinary, but I just felt like it was good to see Punky in a different role and them highlighting her. Yeah, so I mean, overall for me, I'm definitely higher on the episode than I was on Saturday. I think this is one that grew on me a little bit, but I would still say that we have had some better ones this season, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we're going to see next week from Paul Rudd. But before we get to that, and before we get to our discussion of that, I do want to bring up some stats from the audience. And what's one of the things we do on the roundtable is we get to ask some questions to our social media followers on Instagram. And if you ever want to participate in those polls, those usually go up on Monday afternoons, and you can give us your input and let us know your thoughts. So I asked the question before. I said, do you put Christmas cards up on your fridge? And I was curious about this because I didn't know if this was totally relatable for everybody. And the answer that we got is 65%. So I guess it's not just fridge, it's also on display. So 65% actually do this. So I guess there are a lot of people that still do this, despite the fact that we were talking about it being more of a digital thing at this point. So definitely was more relatable than I thought it was. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is the TikTok stuff. And one of the theories we had on Saturday was like, is it possible that if you watch so many TikToks and you are on TikTok all the time, that this sketch doesn't work for you as much as people who are maybe like just on TikTok in the last couple of years? And we actually asked the listeners, we said, from 0 to 10, how likely or how active are you on TikTok? And then 0 to 10, how much you like the sketch. And it's hard to display on screen. But what I will say is that, through all the answers and going through everything, it seems to me like there is definitely some type of thing where if you are on TikTok all the time, this sketch doesn't play for you as well. But if you were on TikTok maybe over the last couple of years and just getting into it, this sketch seems to play a lot better. So I think that there is some type of correlation here, and I'll continue to explore that throughout the week as we get more answers into our social media. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about is our episode MVP. So we asked the listeners who's the MVP from the episode, and we'll bring up those stats in just a moment. But I do want to go around the panel and ask for your opinions. So Sammy, can you give me your top 3, your 3 stars from the episode?
Top 3. Okay. I'm going to say in no particular order.
No, give me an order.
Get an order. Can you go to someone first?
Yes, I will go to someone first.
Okay.
Great podcasting, Sammy. All right, Morgan, can you give me your top 3 people who would be your MVPs from the episode?
Definitely Kate, number 1, because she owned that episode and she delivered and was unreal, I thought. And like every sketch that she was in, she did what she came to do and seemed really happy to be back and kind of meshed well with everybody. So she was definitely my MVP. I also thought Billie did an unreal job doing musical and hosting. And she's definitely just like setting a great example for everybody and showing people that like she can do both at such a young age. And she wasn't like afraid at all. She just like slayed it. And then also Andrew Dismukes, I thought was definitely another MVP. I think that like I just love seeing more and more of him and seeing like what he's capable of and what kind of roles that he can play. And we've been seeing kind of like a bunch of different kinds of characters from him. So I love seeing him and getting him kind of more like involved.
Okay, cool. Bill, what about you?
I'm gonna go Kate for sure as number 1. What a return. Billie with one of the best hosting gigs, maybe not the best episode of the season, but one of the best hosting gigs of the season. And I think I'm gonna go with Heidi, number 3.
Okay. All right. So it looks like Sammy is on his way back in from his.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We got Sammy back.
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Sammy.
All right. Number one. She's back. Kate McKinnon. So many great sketches in this episode, and some that will probably be in a future SNL Christmas special. So definitely. Maybe even 2 sketches from the episode. And then my second pick, I'm going with Andrew Dismukes. We didn't really get a lot of time to, talk about his weekend update piece, but I thought that was great, even though the dog maybe stole, the show from him in that piece. But overall, it was a very, obscure character that, hit my funny bone. And number 3, the pimp walk queen herself, Heidi Gardner, a really good showcase for her in that sketch in particular, which was probably in my top, was probably my top 3 sketches of the night. And then in, the TikTok sketch as well, and a couple other sketches. So those would be my top 3.
Okay, so between Morgan, Bill, and Sammy, we have all Kate's first. Morgan and Bill put Billie at second. Sammy put Andrew, and then in third, Morgan put Andrew. Bill put Heidi, and Sammy also put Heidi. And I will tell you that one of these 4 people between Kate, Billie, Andrew, and Heidi is actually not even in the top, I think, 7 of the MVPs from this particular week. And I will give you those results right now. We're gonna put those up on screen. Okay. So 35% of the audience said that Kate McKinnon is the MVP from this week. So everybody across the board said Kate McKinnon at number 1, Billie Eilish at number 2, Morgan and Bill, you got that one right. And then Andrew Dismukes at number 3. So Billie was at 17.4% and Andrew was at 13%. And Morgan got the order, Kate, Billie, Andrew. So good job, Morgan. Number 4, Kyle Mooney at 10.87, Punky Johnson coming in at 6.52, and then Phineas at 4.35. And I do have Nicole telling me that Heidi was actually at number 9 this week for MVP. So a lot of people not appreciating the stuff we get to see from Heidi yet, but I'm glad that the panelists can at least bring that up as well. Okay. So I'm glad that we had a lot of, fun back and forth discussion on the sketches here. This was, I would say, probably the most polarizing episode of the season, potentially, in terms of opinion that I can think of. I definitely would say that, Kim K's, there were a lot of people who liked it and a lot of people who didn't. But I think it was really interesting to ask, people across the board. A lot of sketches people really enjoyed from this episode. And then a lot of people also felt like the episode wasn't great. So it's really cool to get to talk about that with everybody. But let's move on to what we're going to see next week. And I am just so excited. I will say that, for me, Paul Rudd is one of my favorite actors. I just find him so hilarious in almost everything he does. I don't know if he has been the best SNL host, but his charisma and his personality to me is just so relatable. And there's just something about Paul Rudd going back to his days as Mike from Friends that I just really honestly just love everything I get to see from Paul Rudd. So I'm thrilled to have him back on the show next week, joining the Five Timers Club. Sammy, I'll start with you. Are you excited to see Paul Rudd, and what are your expectations for next week?
Yes, I'm very excited to see Paul Rudd. I think earlier, when we were starting our coverage for the season, he was on my list of people who I wanted to see host. And I don't even think at the time I knew this was going to be his 5th time. So I'm really excited to see, what kind of 5 timers celebration they're going to do for him. As far as things I'd want to see, it's been a while since we've seen the Volcheks. So, a COVID Volchek sketch writes itself. They have masks on and they take them off.
COVID checks.
A COVID checks. Boom. It has to happen now. And then also, something else I'd like to see, if we're gonna go all out for a Christmas episode with some cameos, what would be better promotion for the new MacGruber show with some sort of MacGruber appearance, on the episode. So I'm hoping for one of those two things. If I'm being greedy, I want both.
Yeah, preach, Sammy, preach. I love it. Okay, Morgan, tell us your thoughts on having Paul Rudd come in next week and any expectations you have.
I always think Paul Rudd delivers, whether it's on SNL, whether it's in a movie or on a TV show. He's great. I'm really more excited to see how he's going to mesh with the cast this year and kind of the whole dynamic there. That's going to be very interesting to see. And what else was I going to say? Oh, who's the musical guest?
It is Charlie XCX, not to bury the lead also, because I would like to say, not to, she's really excellent as well. So I look forward to seeing her. Yeah, that will be good too. That will be very awesome to see too. Yeah, but I think Paul Rudd's going to do great, and I'm excited to see kind of the dynamic there. And what Sammy was saying about the cameos, who they're going to, have come in some of the sketches or maybe in the cold open. We never know. So I hope that there's going to be some fun surprises there, whether it was former cast members or any fun celebrities there. That's always great to see, definitely for the holiday episodes. For sure. Bill, what are your expectations for Paul Rudd next week?
Have to have some kind of 5 timers lounge for sure. Even if you can't get the full crew in, at least Chevy working in the door. No, I know that's not going to happen. But the cameo I want the most and could possibly happen would be Will Ferrell promoting their new show on Apple, Shrink Next Door, which is pretty damn good, by the way. So that's my kind of hope that maybe we'll see Will come back. Maybe one of the 2 Wills for sure.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, I'm just taking a look at the list of 5 timers, Bill, and just off the top of your head, obviously Buck Henry's no longer with us, but is there anybody on the list that you think that they couldn't get to come back for some type of 5 timer sketch?
that you couldn't get?
Yeah, like why couldn't they get anybody? I guess I hear actually. I'm gonna say something, and I think I don't mean to jump in on this, but the big question is, can you do a 5-timer sketch without Alec Baldwin? Because do they want to have Baldwin on now?
I think you'd steer clear of Baldwin for sure. I mean, what was it? Which one where they only got the female 5-time host? Was it?
I think
I
that was
believe
Jonah Hill, right?
Yes, Jonah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. Sometimes they just can't get these, and with COVID, are you not going to be able to get some of these 70 and 80-year-olds like Candace and Steve Martin to come in? I don't know. I don't think there's anybody in particular other than Chevy that you wouldn't be able to get, but.
Yeah, I don't know about Christopher Walken and Elliot Gould at their age if they are going to come in. That's a big question for that. But just looking at the list, I think like if they want Alec and they're okay with it, I think he can come in. Steve Martin obviously is a shoe-in. John Goodman has been around the show at least somewhat in the last 10 years. Tom Hanks, obviously. Chevy's an interesting question. We spoke about Christopher Walken and Elliot Gould. Danny DeVito, I think they can get. Drew Barrymore, obviously. Tina Fey, ScarJo, very easy for them to get. Candice Bergman has been around. Bill Murray. JT would be an interesting one who has not been at the show, I think, since the 40th anniversary. That would be an interesting one to come back. Ben Affleck, Melissa McCarthy, Dwayne Johnson, Jonah Hill, and Will Ferrell. So it would be very exciting to see who can come in next week. And I just think that what always intrigues me about these Christmas episodes is there's this extra excitement that really anything can happen. And then you always think as an SNL fan, what are they holding back for this particular episode? For the mid-season finale, when they know a lot of people who are at school are coming home to be with their families for the holidays. You're going to get those extra views. A lot of people who are, maybe taking off work and, before they go away on vacation. This is a big episode for Saturday Night Live, and I really am excited to see what they're going to do. Anyone else with any thoughts on Paul Rudd for next week? Okay. All right. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. Let's talk about our coverage that's going to be happening this week on the SNL Network before we get to the mid-season finale. And I will bring up that schedule on screen for all of our video listeners or video watchers. And obviously we had a roundtable tonight. We had our hot take show on Saturday. So if you missed our hot take show, that was a really fun hot take show. Please check that one out. We also have our patron feedback show coming up on Wednesday evening. I believe that will be at 8 p.m. Eastern with our friend Ike Moore. And Ike is a great patron who has been really active and really is excited to talk about the show. So I can't wait to answer questions from Ike. We're going to post that patron feedback show form on Twitter and on Instagram as well in our story. You can ask any question you would like, and we'll try and include that in the patron feedback show for Wednesday. On a Thursday, we'll have the second edition of Hollywood Dish with Nicole Rovine and Rebecca North. They'll be talking about anything in pop culture that you may see on Saturday Night Live this week and some fun trending stories. And then join us for the Hot Take Show live right after the mid-season finale. We have some really fun guests planned for the Hot Take Show and the Roundtable next week. So I'm excited to wrap up the first half of the season all together. It's just been really great to cover it all. And for what has been just a really exciting season of Saturday Night Live. All right. Sammy Kay, thank you for joining us. Tell the listeners where they can reach out to you.
Thanks, John, for having me. You guys can find me at that Sammy Kay on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And please, if you have not had the chance to check out the most recent SNL Superfan Takeover, we just talked about our favorite Christmas sketches of all time. Bill was on that episode as well as the other Superfans, and we had a lot of fun. And it's a good episode to watch as you anticipate the holiday season.
Absolutely. That was a really fun show. So you guys did a great job on that. And we will be having one more Superfan Takeover coming up after, in the last week of the new year. So I'm going to hold off just a tease of that. That is a really fun show that we're planning with a bunch of people on that one. Morgan, always great to hear from you. Please tell the listeners where they can reach out to you.
Thank you for having me. You can find me at Morgan Killoren. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to seeing both Sammy and Morgan on TikTok in the future after all we got to see this week from the TikTok sketch. Bill Kenney or Billie Kenney, thanks for joining us. I always appreciate getting to hear from you. Where can people reach out to you?
You can find me on the socials at BKLove73, mostly on Twitter, but also on Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything to plug, Bill? Anything going on with you?
Nope, just getting ready for the holidays.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And for all the listeners who joined us live tonight, I really appreciate getting to see your comments in the chat. It's always great as we're going through our discussion. It helps us talk about the show as well. Thanks to all our panelists for joining us. And you can reach me at Jon Schneider 24 if you would like to talk to me about anything to do with the SNL Network. And you can follow the SNL Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok. Please make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and anywhere you listen to podcasts. And like I said, if you ever leave us an Apple Podcast review, I will make sure to read those on one of our shows. So we appreciate them as well to help us grow the show. So for Sammy, Morgan, and Bill, my name is Jon Schneider from the SNL Network. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you on the Patron Feedback Show on Wednesday night. Have a good one, everybody.